Can't let Karen go back up there. When Paul Martin comes back, I've got to talk to him because there must be a way to stop this.
Vicki, there isn't anything you can do to stop Karen from taking a stand again. The thing I'm curious about is why you want to.
Didn't you see what she was going through up there, what Callison was doing to her?
Yes, I saw it. I've also noticed how tense you've been ever since she took the stand. Why?
Because she's my friend.
Come on, Vicki, there's more to it than that. Karen obviously lied about her relationships with Talbot Huddleston and Marco Dane. It doesn't take a genius to figure out that you knew about those relationships before she took the stand. Now, that was critical to your defense, but you didn't tell me. Why?
Joe, you're just going to have to trust me, at least until this is over.
Okay, honey, I'll trust you. Or you don't trust me. But I'll tell you this much. If Callison continues the way he has been, you won't have to tell me.
I know this has been an arduous experience for you, but I'm afraid there has been no real clarification on the three major questions on which I've been questioning you, namely, why Katrina Carr called you on December 15th, that night, why you later called Talbot Huddleston regarding Katrina as opposed to someone with whom you were more closely acquainted, and finally, but most importantly, your relationship with the deceased Marco Dane after he arrived in Landview.
Your Honor, it seems to me that learned counsel has covered all three of these areas more than adequately, and it certainly is not going to profit anybody in the courtroom for him to go over.
Your Honor, I believe this witness's testimony simply cannot be left dangling. She has seriously impugned the reputation of a respected member of this community.
The court is in agreement, Mr. Callison. You may continue your cross-examination.
Thank you, Your Honor. Now then, Mrs. Wallach, I would like to begin by disposing of the Huddleston matter once and for all. Now, just prior to the recess, you stated that Talbot Huddleston killed Marco Dane. Now, I think I can safely assume that you don't have any incontrovertible evidence with which to support that charge, or surely you would have presented it to us. Yes?
Only Katrina Carr could prove that.
But unfortunately, Katrina Carr is lying comatose in Landview Hospital and is therefore unable to do that. Am I right?
Yes, you are right.
Well, then, perhaps you could tell us why you think Talbot Huddleston killed Marco Dane.
I don't know what reason he may have had.
Oh. Well, was he acquainted with Marco?
Yes.
How do you know that?
I saw him several times at Marco's health club.
I see. You were in the habit of going to the health club, were you?
No, I was not in the habit of going to the health club. I happened to see him there.
What, were you a member of the health club?
No!
Well, that's a rather emphatic no. If you weren't a member, why did you go there? Now, Mrs. Wallach, you did state earlier that you and Marco Dane were not on close terms, did you not?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Then what earthly reason would you have for going to his health club?
He called me. I went there a couple of times.
He called you about what?
I don't know. It was a long time ago. I don't remember.
Oh, well, surely you must remember something. I mean, a man like that. This is a man who was an important part of your past, a man who followed you all the way to Landview. Now, I would think that if he asked you to come and see you about something in his office, you wouldn't easily forget what that something was.
Marco had a sadistic streak. He, enjoyed reminding me about the past.
Reminding you? How?
He would, he said he was never going to let me forget it.
I think you can be a little more specific than that. In fact, isn't it true that Marco Dane was blackmailing you?
No.
I must remind you that you are under oath, Mrs. Wallach. Now, can you swear before this court that after you got married to Dr. Wallach, Mark O'Dane never once threatened you, never once threatened to go to your husband and tell him about your past?
All right, yes, he threatened to go to my husband.
And how did you respond to those threats?
I begged... Excuse me. I begged him not to go to Larry.
No. Did you pay him to keep quiet?
No, I did not pay him. I didn't have the financial means to pay him.
And how did he respond to the fact that you refused to be blackmailed by him?
He was very angry, but he never did go to my husband.
Oh, in other words, he took pity on you, and out of the goodness of his heart, he let you off the hook.
I don't know what was going on in his mind. I just know that he didn't go to my husband.
Well, I beg to differ with you, Mrs. Wallach, but the state finds it difficult to believe that a man like Mark O'Dane, a man who came to land you with the express purpose of getting even with someone, would suddenly find it in his heart to let that someone off the hook. As a matter of fact, I believe a man like Mark O'Dane would find a way to put that person on the hook, so to speak. Now, Mrs. Wallach, did you ever have occasion to meet with Mark O'Dane at places other than the health club?
I told you before I saw him. Several times he came into Tony's place.
Uh-huh. Any other places?
Well, yes, I may have seen him walking downtown on the street.
What about the Wallington Hotel?
What? Oh, God, I can't watch this.
Easy, please. Yes, Mrs. Wallach, the Wallington Hotel. Did you ever have occasion to meet Mark O'Dane there?
I don't really know.
You don't really know. When it suits you, Mrs. Wallach, there's a great deal that you don't really know.
Objection, Your Honor.
Objection sustained. Will you get on with it, Counselor?
Very well, Your Honor, I will get on with it because I, too, believe that it's time the truth came out as to why this witness took the stand in the first place. Now then, Mrs. Wallach, you mentioned earlier that when you were looking for Katrina Carr, you first tried to reach her at her hotel. Is that right?
Yes, that's right.
What was the name of that hotel?
The Wallington.
We didn't hear you. What was that name? Would you speak up, please?
The Wallington Hotel.
Thank you. Now, I have here a police emergency report dated February 17, 1978. This report states that on said night, you were the victim of an assault in the alleyway behind the Riverette Bar. Do you recall that incident?
Yes, I do.
The report goes on to say that you stated it was an attempted rape. Yet when the police wished to question you further in order to pursue this matter, you told them that you simply wanted to drop the whole thing. Is that correct?
Yes, that is.
Why, Mrs. Wallach? Didn't you want to see justice done?
Yes, I wanted to see justice done. It was a very traumatic experience for me. I wanted to forget all about it.
Well, I'm sure it was a very traumatic experience. But was it really an attempted rape?
You've got the police report right there.
Yes. Yes, indeed I do. Mrs. Wallach, does the name Aldo Pearson mean anything to you?
You obviously know that it does.
And what about the following names? Roy Gladstone, Joel Diamond, Slim Jenkins, Bob Williams.
You needn't go on, Mr. Callison.
You have been acquainted with all of these men, haven't you?
You obviously know that I have. I don't see why you have any reason to ask.
I have a reason to ask because I believe the court and the jury has the right to know why you felt compelled to take the stand in defense of Victoria Riley and what your real relationship was with Mark O'Dane. Now, I could go on and on and on and on asking you questions, Mrs. Wallach, but it would make it a lot easier for everybody concerned if you would stop lying to this court.
I am not lying. I came here to see justice done. Vicky Riley didn't kill anybody. Why can't you understand that?
The innocence or guilt of Mrs. Riley will be determined by this jury, but not until they have been given all the facts. Now, isn't it a fact that there was a great deal more to your relationship with Marco Dane than you have admitted?
Yes, yes, yes!